Hi there, and welcome to this video where we will be attempting the Edexcel IGCSE ICT 2021 November practical paper. Okay, so if you do need the data files for this, you need the question paper of this, do check the description of the video, and the link has been provided where you can download the data files for this particular paper so that you can also practice it as well. Okay, right, let's get started then. So over here we have the paper, and let's scroll down. So over here, they do mention the scenario, and it's very important that you go through the scenario, understand the scenario, because the scenario applies for the entire paper. Okay, so we're talking about Mehdi is the owner of the lawn agency, TLA. The company offers garden services. These are the company's contact details. Okay, and then there's also a house style that we have to follow throughout the paper. So the house style for the company name is bold and it should be a serif font. Okay, so this is the style that we need to maintain whenever we insert the company name. It should be bold, and we should be using a serif font. So by now you should be knowing what serif font means. It means a font that has pointy edges. Okay, right. Let's get started with our first activity then. So over here, task A1, Mehdi needs some images to use in a presentation for the loan agency. Okay, so we are supposed to create a new Word document, enter these details in the header, and then save the document as task A1. Okay, so I do have my folder over here with me, and I'm going to come over here, right click, new Word document, and I'm going to call it task A1. I'm going to open it up and immediately head for the header. Immediately head for the header, and over here we say task A1, your name, your candidate number, and your center number, isn't it? The name, candidate number, and center number in the header. So once you're done with the header, it's always best you come out of it. Okay, so you can click close header and footer, or you can simply come and double click on the middle of your page and it will come out of the header. Okay, so let's do that. The next thing the question paper says is Mehdi wants to include an image in the presentation. Okay, she has an image saved as image 1. Okay, so do go and check, do you have this image with you? You should be having it. So when you come to the images folder, you can see that there is an image called image 1. Here you go. This is the image that the question paper is referring to. Okay, so then it goes on to say, open the image and edit to crop the image to remove the bottom quarter of the image, make it black and white, and add the text digging onto the image. Okay, so now since they have mentioned that it should be black and white, this is something that can be done in Photoshop. Okay, in Photoshop, you can transform the image from RGB, that is color, into black and white. Okay, now, if this particular requirement was not there, I would do it in Paint. Okay, but since this requirement is there, we will have to do it using Photoshop. So I'm going to right click and say open with Adobe Photoshop. Now, for some of you all, when you do right click and say open with, Photoshop may not appear. If that is the case, you can always go to start, type Photoshop over here, open up Photoshop. It's a heavy program, so you're going to have to wait for a little. And even once it opens up, you may have to give it a few seconds again for it to properly load. Okay, so once it has opened up, then what you can do is you can do something of a drag and drop. Okay, so ensure you drop it on the top portion of Photoshop. Okay, so you drag, and this is where you drop it on the top area. Okay, so once you do that, the image has now been loaded into Photoshop. Okay, so the first requirement was that, according to the question paper, the first requirement was crop the image to remove the bottom quarter of the image. Okay, so over here we have the crop tool. Shortcut key for crop tool is C. Okay, so you take the crop tool and then immediately the sides become dotted, allowing you to crop it according to your requirements. Okay, so the bottom quarter, so this is somewhere over, I think approximately something like this. If you break this image into 3 quarters, okay, this would be the bottom quarter of it. Okay, somewhere over here. Right. Then once you're satisfied with your selection, you can go ahead and press enter, which means you're okay with this selection. And then the next thing that you will have to do is, according to the question paper, make it black and white. Okay, so to make it black and white, you can come to the image menu, and sorry, you have to come out of the crop tool. Okay, so we have done the crop tool. Now we have to confirm it. Yes, we are done with it. We have finished using it. Okay, commit current crop operation. Yes, we are done with it. Okay, then you can come to the image tool, and then you have a mode, and then you can say you want it to be in grayscale, which is black and white. Okay, so when you click on that, it is the Photoshop is giving you a warning. Once you make this change, the color information that is there in this image will be lost. Okay, so we say yes, go ahead, discard it, and now the image has been converted into grayscale, black and white. Okay, the next thing that needs to be done is we need to add the text digging onto the image. So they haven't told where it should be added. It's up to you. So I'm going to take the text tool. Okay, we have over here the text tool. And I'm going to be drawing a text box from here to here. Okay. And over here, I'm going to add the text digging. Okay, so it's not big enough. Let's make it big enough. It's right now 72. Let's make it 172. That's too big. So let's make it 122. That looks better. Okay, so if you want to move digging, first make sure you're on the correct layer. You should be on the text layer, okay, the digging layer. Then you can take the move tool and then you can move it, okay? Somewhere over here is fine. If you think black would be a better option, you can make it black. Come over here and make it black. I think black made it even worse, so let's undo it. So in window, you have your history tool. Take your history tool, and over here, I already have it, so I can see all the changes that I have made. So I just want to go back one step. I'll just click on move and go back one step and keep it with white color, okay? Right, moving on to the next part. It says save the image as digging, and then you're supposed to insert a copy of the image into document task A1, okay? So I'm going to save this, save as, and I'm going to save it in my folder. Okay, so it's in the images folder, the past paper images folder, and we are supposed to save it as digging. And right now it's being saved in Photoshop format. Now, what I'm going to do is, even though the past paper has not told me to do it, since this image has multiple layers, it has two layers, it has a text layer and it has a background. So since the image has two layers, I'm going to save it in two formats. One is a Photoshop format and the other is the JPEG format. So why? Photoshop format will be in case I have to make changes to it later, I will be using the Photoshop format. The JPEG format will be used so that I can view it and I can also paste it in Microsoft Word. Okay, so let me first save it in PSD format. Okay, and I'm reminding you again, this the past paper has not told you to do, but it's a good practice. Okay, and then I am also going to save it in JPEG format. Okay, so digging, and this time I'm going to select JPEG and save it. So let the quality be maximum. Say okay. So over here, as you can see in my folder, I have the PSD file as well as the JPEG file. Okay, so if I have to make changes, let's say, for example, I noticed there's a spelling mistake or something, I can always come and do it in the PSD file, the Photoshop file. Now, if I have to paste the image in Microsoft Word, I can simply use the JPEG file. Okay, so the past paper then says me to insert a copy of the image into document task A1. Okay, so that's very easy. You simply go into your folder, copy this, Control C, using the shortcut key Control C, come over here and Control V, shortcut key to paste. Okay, with that, we have come, they say resave task A1. So let's come over here, shortcut key to resave is Control S. And then come over here, do not print at this stage. Okay, right. Then let's move on to the next question, task A1B. It says, Medi needs another image to be used as the background for the slides in the presentation. Okay, create the image. Okay, the image must be fit for purpose and it must have the dimension set to 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels. It should have the following shapes and it should include the company name. Okay, so now what we need to understand is that this image that we are about to create is going to be used as a background for the slides. Okay, so we have to construct something that can be used as a background. Okay, with that in mind, let us first go and create the image. So we'll do it in Paint again, in Photoshop again. So I'm going to come and click on File, and I'm going to click on New. I want a new, what do you call this? I want a new drawing space. There is a word for this, I forgot it. I think it's called canvas. Yes, I want a new canvas. And the size of it is 1080 in width. What was it? 1920 in width. 1920 in width and 1080 in height. Okay, perfect. And I'm going to click on OK. Okay, so here you go. My canvas is now presented to me. Now, the second requirement was that it should have the following shapes: rectangles, circles, and arrow shapes. Okay, so how we are going to do it is, so over here on the left hand side, you can see we have shapes. If you can follow my cursor, this is where you get shapes. So I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to go with the rectangle first. Okay, so we need to have rectangle, circle, and arrow. So what I'm thinking is rectangle at the top, circle at the bottom, and the arrows on both sides. I'm assuming that would be good. Okay, so, or maybe we can have the rectangle in the bottom with yeah, with 4 circles on the sides, maybe, because they haven't said to use one, right? They have said shapes: rectangle, circle, and arrow shapes. Okay, so what we can do is okay, so let's get started. Let's do something like this. Let me draw a rectangle over here. Rectangle over here. Okay, I feel like it's not in the center, so I'm going to take the move tool and move it a little more to the center, somewhere over here. Right. And the rectangle here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the rectangle tool, and then for fill, I'm going to give it a very, very light, light blue, maybe. A very light blue, lighter than that. Yes, lighter than that. Okay, and then I'm going to go with my next shape. So I'm going to go and take my next shape. Now, before I go to take my next shape, first make sure you are on the background layer, because the next shape is also going to appear on the background. Okay, so first ensure you're on the background layer, then go and take your next shape. Okay, so my next shape is going to be a circle, which is going to be over here. And I'm going to draw a circle like this on the corner. Something like this. Okay. And this too is going to have the same background color. Okay. And then I need to have 2 arrows as well. So custom shape tool, and from shapes, from here. Okay, so from over here, I can select the shapes. I'm going to take this arrow and I'm going to draw it from, let me draw it like this. Let me draw it like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Control T. Okay, I'm going to press Control T. And this is going to allow me to rotate it. Okay, so I'm going to rotate it, or either you can come and rotate it from over here. You can say -90. Okay. Okay, you can do it that way, or you can simply rotate it with the mouse. Oh, sorry. I'm going to undo it from here. Let's do it again. Control T. Angle is 90. Sorry. -90. There you go. Apply. Now I'm going to bring this over here. Okay, and then I'm going to draw another. So make sure you're in the background layer and take another shape over here. Let me show you a simpler trick. What you could do is, you see, you have your shape layer over here. Okay, so let's double click it and give it a name. Let's say arrow, left arrow. Okay, now instead of drawing the arrow again, I'm going to duplicate this layer, duplicate layer. Okay, now that layer has got duplicated over here, and now I'm just going to bring it all the way to the right side. Okay, bring it onto the right side, and let's name this as a right arrow. Let's remove the word copy. Okay, yeah, so that's what this is going to be my image. And there's just one more thing that needs to be done. There's one more requirement, which is that we need to have the following text: the loan agency. Now, do remember, it has to be bold. It has to be a serif font. This was mentioned even in the house style. So where shall we put our company name? I'm going to put it in the bottom inside this rectangle. Okay. So I'm going to take the text tool and then come over here and draw a text box. Okay. And then I'm going to say the loan agency. Okay. Let me type it again. The loan agency. Now the font is not visible because it's right now 122. That is too big for this text box, but I have already typed it. So I need to select all this text, even though it's not visible, it has been typed. So I want to select all this text. So what I can do is I can press Control A. I'm still inside the text box. So the moment I press Control A, all the text gets selected. Okay, even though you cannot see it, it has got selected in the computer's memory. It has got selected. Then I come over here and decrease the font to maybe size 30. So size 30 is also still too big, maybe size 9. Size 9 seems to be okay, size 24. And also the font is okay. But the problem with the font is, if you do notice, there's another problem, which is the text layer is below the rectangle, which means it's behind the rectangle. Can you see where my cursor is right now? In the order of layers, the text layer has gone below the rectangle. Okay, so I need to take it above. So I'm just going to click and drag it and drop it above the rectangle layer. There you go. That's where it is. I just want to make some changes over here. Let's click on the text tool, Control A, select everything. Let's make it size 18. Okay, then click on the move tool. And with the arrow keys, let's slightly bring it down, 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 down. Okay, there you go. That looks better. And it also has to be a serif font. It has to be a font that has pointy edges. So ideally, I would like Times New Roman. So let's come over here and type Times New Roman, because Times New Roman has pointy edges, and this is for sure a serif font. Then the next thing, I hope it's so far so good to you. Okay, then the next thing that is to be done, it says is take a screenshot showing how you set the dimensions. Okay, so this is something that should have been done at the beginning, but doesn't matter. So they want us to take a screenshot of how we set the dimensions for this image. So what you could do is you could come to File, New, and then take a screenshot, or you could even come to Image and Image Size and then take a screenshot, whichever you prefer. Okay, but let us go with File, New, and over here, let's take a screenshot. Okay, so I'm going to press Print Screen. And I'm supposed to paste this in task A1, Control V. So there you go, it has got pasted. And the next thing that the question paper tells me to do is save the image as background. Okay, so I'm reminding you guys again. Okay, let's cancel this. Since this image has multiple layers, save it in two formats. One is the PSD format and the other is the JPEG format. Okay, so let's come to File and let's come to Save As. And we're supposed to save this as background. So I'm saving it as a PSD, and then I'll come back and also save it as JPEG. File, save as, also save it as JPEG. Okay, click on save. There you go. Right. So that has also been saved. Then it says insert a copy of the image into the document task A1. Okay, let's go into our folder and copy, Control C. Come to task A1, enter, Control V. There you go. We have pasted our image. Okay. The next thing the past paper says is do not print a resave task A1. So let's come back and resave it. Then it says do not print at this stage. Okay. Answer these questions in the document task A1. Give two features of vector images. Okay. Give two features of vector images. So let's keep the cursor down over here. Let's put the question number, Roman number 1. So two features of vector images, you can say one is that vector images do not lose their quality when the image is enlarged. Okay. And then, oh, this is going into the second question. So let's press Shift Enter so that we can put our next answer over there. Then we can also add the second, what was it? Feature, isn't it? There are two features. Yeah, so we can say the second feature is we can also talk about the fact that vector images are made up of shapes, okay, of lines and shapes, lines, curves, and shapes. You can say vector images are made up of lines, curves, and shapes. Okay. You can also say that vector images are made up of mathematical coordinates. That is how they do not lose their quality, because each time you zoom into the image, the pixels are enlarged using mathematical coordinates. Okay. So you can also mention that as a feature of vector images. Okay. The main reason they do not lose their quality no matter how much you zoom in is because they are made up of mathematical coordinates. So each time you zoom in, the pixels are automatically resized. They are not enlarged. Okay. So if you want, you can also mention that feature as well. Okay. So with that, we have then come to the end of the, sorry, there's one more question. Explain one reason why bitmap images are suitable for photographic images. So let's put this. So you can say bitmap images are not made up of lines, curves, and shapes. Instead, they are made up of pixels, and each pixel contains information of the color. Okay. So bitmap images, they are ideal for photographic images because bitmap images are not bitmap images are not made up of shapes and lines and curves. No, they are made up of pixels that contain color values. Okay. So when you put these together, you get an image, you get a photograph, or you get a picture together. Okay. So with that, we have then come to the end of task A1. And in our next video, we will be moving on to task A2. Okay.